last night you were sharing with me about a crop that looked real, real unlikely, and that ended up being what's that story?
Yeah, one year we had a dry summer, and I remember it was dry clear till I would say early September, and well, there was more than one year like that, but this one particular year, I guess we got a little more moisture, and we had to plant the wheat really quite deep. I think at least 3 inches, and it come up. And
You said you used one of those drills. Like, is it behind the house?
no, that was another year.
Okay.
This year, we used that John Deere hoe drill, and we put fertilizer on behind the separate tubes behind the grain, and we were able to get a good stand. And it was a dry winter, and I remember must have been in April or something. It was still basically dry, and I could checked out in the field, and that fertilizer was still laying there, kind of toward the top. And a lot of wheat around was suffering from dry weather. It was damaged quite a bit. And finally, probably end of April, or I don't know exactly when, we really got some good moisture, and that fertilizer went to work late, and I think we probably had better than a county average harvest that year. But another year, it was kind of similar to that, and there was, I guess there was 3 years. This one year, we got some moisture late, and the volunteer come up, it was like a garden. And it was kind of late for planting, and
So that volunteer got soddy on you even.
well, it was pretty much that way, but tried to drill it under. It was kind of late to work the ground, and I made a couple rounds with the drill over there on a 50-acre field, and I didn't like what it was doing. So years before, Grandpa used to sell those Dempster drills to some people around Dorrance, and so I contacted this one fellow.
And the Dempster's what's down in the trees?
Yeah.
And that grandpa used to sell those, you're saying?
Yeah. And there was this fellow, I contacted him out there at Dorrance. He still had his. They were not in real good shape, and I brought them home and got some parts to rebuild them and whatever it needed. And then I went ahead and drilled my wheat that fall. And the way that thing was made, it had little sweeps on there, kind of like, and it pretty much worked the ground and planted the seed. And that next harvest, where I made those first round or two, there wasn't, it was real poor wheat, and the rest of it was a good crop. I don't know what it made, but it was a good crop. And I guess there was another time that it was real dry in the summer. We got about an inch of rain probably 1st September. And a volunteer came up good. I went in there with the rod weeder and worked it all and got a good kill. But the ground was dry and there wasn't enough moisture to bring much of the wheat up. A little bit came up. And that was one of those years when there was bad winds in the fall and in the spring, and the ground really blowed, and I tried different things to stop the ground from blowing. Wasn't very successful. And there was little wheat left across the creek on that, probably 20 acres. That's all the wheat we harvested that year. And that was the year Grandpa was in California. So
You need to change that?
Very soon, yeah.